Hi, everyone. Welcome. Carl Steinbeck here. Just want to jump on here earlier than I normally do, based on this great news we heard from the court filing that Judge Everett, of all people, made today. I'm sitting here in Islamorada, Florida, off the Florida Keys with my wonderful fiance, who's sitting next to me here while she's doing some legal work. I thought I'd jump on and go ahead and do an early report on this awesome, wonderful news that Judge Everett is finally doing the right thing here, which no counsel properly advised him on, which he obviously was not aware of as well. But in this ruling that he came out here in the last hour or so, what I can tell you is when Rashomon first got on this case, so you've been following this channel for a while, I mentioned that this would not happen in any courts I practice in front of, where somebody go from representing Donna as counsel that was somebody's confirmed with as their possibly pending charges, definitely a co-conspirator from all the evidence known at the time, and for Rashomon to go from Donna to Charlie and then back to Donna was just like unheard of. I don't know any lawyer in America that would do something that reckless and crazy. And so anyway, I made those kind of comments way back when he first appeared, and yet it wasn't considered like a big deal in the Florida courts there. So they have similar ethical rules all throughout the United States. So pretty much you look at one ethical rule in one state, and the other state, you're going to have something almost identical. So it always bothered me that this Rashomon thing was hanging out there. I mentioned it numerous times that the judge did not even properly inquire as to this conflict of interest. And the judge should have really made Donna realize that this is not going to end well. And if you want to get a fair trial, a decent trial, and you want lawyers that are really going to fight for you, you don't hire somebody that represented somebody that got convicted right before you. So it just made no sense. Any client that'd be dumb enough to do something like that, or a defendant that does something like that, you need to step in as a judge and shut it down. But it never happened. It kept on going on. And I raised it a number of times that, I just still wasn't really sitting well. And in any event, when this thing blew up in the court's face with Charlie not consenting based on what his counsel Ufferman decided to not allow him to sign a written waiver of the conflict that Rashomon had with his other client, Donna, then the whole thing became unraveled, and it forced the issue to then have Rashomon off the case. And what I couldn't figure out is even these Tallahassee lawyers that are on YouTube, there's one that was saying that the conflict is cured and Alex Morris can still stay on the case. If you look at my last videos, I even made a title page that said that the judge must remove all three lawyers, or words to that effect. And so I thought even this commissar guy that we saw a notice of appearance, Adam Commissar, he was that young-looking attorney that came in there as the conflict-free lawyer to cross-examine Charlie. I mean, that whole thing was just an absolute circus, I thought. And as it turns out, based on Judge Everett's ruling, he not only declared that Rashomon had to go, but he's also saying Alex Morris is conflicted. And he's also saying this Adam Commissar is conflicted. And that's exactly what I was saying. So I just wasn't sure how this is going to turn out. And Alex Morris, obviously based on the filing by Adam Commissar is not going to be lead counsel. It was supposed to be Alex Morris. So for Alex Morris to take this case and Commissar to be on there as well, it's just beyond belief. The lunacy going on in that courtroom there, and nobody understands these rules, which are really elementary. I'm not trying to act like this is some sophisticated, nuanced law that only certain lawyers that have been practicing in this area specialty of criminal law for many years should understand. This is like criminal law 101. If you've been around the block a few times, been practiced a few years, and even the kind of stuff you'd see in law school, maybe they don't go this kind of detail on criminal law cases, but criminal law conflicts are not fixable like they are in the civil law setting. And most lawyers don't know much at all about criminal law. There's a lot of them on YouTube talking about it, and they just don't know what the heck they're talking about. And even like I said, now we see criminal lawyers that don't understand this conflict. They were saying that it's conflict free now for Donna proceed with Alex, and the case is going to go on in 2 months. And so she could also get supplemental counsel, and they were shopping for that. So for Alex to then absorb this commissar guy, I'm just like, what the heck's going on? I was really wondering if the judge is going to step in. So as I looked at this 2.5-page ruling that had like some 40 some other pages of a transcript, I'm trying to pull it up on my phone here. Basically, it says that it talks about how the attorney Rashbaum it became necessary for him to be withdrawn, and that the conflict of interest involving the privileged information or communication has been imputed to Robert A. Morris. He goes by Alex Morris. So without even going into the details of it, that's why it's so obvious. He doesn't need to go into details. He talks that the conflict of interest involving privileged information or communication. Oh, I'm sorry, I already said that. Additionally, their case is rife with potential for the same conflict as to Adam Kaiser. So the mere potential of a conflict. And what I did is, if you recall from one of my last videos, I said merely I'm losing something here. Exact words I used, but the first case that came up was a Wheat versus United States case. It was a Supreme Court case. I guess Supreme Court wasn't the search court term that I used. And it basically would set it all out there. It had a conflicted counsel that the judge denied. It was co-conspirators on a drug case. And it was a 1988 case. That's exactly the case that the judge cited in this thing. And he goes on to cite some others where he talks about how it's not an automatic right. If you have a Sixth Amendment right to pick your counsel of choice, but that lawyer can't do you any good, the judge can step in and say, your conflict, even if it's not actual, the mere potential likelihood of something derailing this criminal case in the administration of justice for this defendant, the defendant cannot waive that and just say, I'm gonna take a lawyer that's so triangulated. I don't know his loyalty to me. I don't really care. I just want this guy. Sorry, the judge needs to step in and say, you know what? Sorry, that's not the way the law works. Historically, the Supreme Court allows judges like me to step in and say, you know what? Enough is enough. I'm going to stop the insanity. And you're getting this lawyer will not stay on this case. I mean, it's as simple as that. This should have happened back when he first got retained on the case, right after Donna got arrested in the October-November timeframe, right after Charlie's case was concluded and he was convicted of murder, Charlie Adelson being her son. So this whole thing was like a nonstop thorn in my side, just wondering, it's like, why don't these guys get it? What's going on? And so I frequently brought this up. And I'm just so thankful and relieved now for the Markells more than anything that justice is going to go forward here. The judge now gets it that this conflict issue is nothing but an absolute reversal of error waiting to happen. There's no way Rashbaum could have stayed on it. There's no way Alex Morris could have stayed on it. And this third party guy, sorry, you guys have been talking. You're bounced. You're out of my courtroom. We're not going to have a circus here of you guys trying to like get money out of this client. And all sort of ethics thrown to the side. And then this case gets reversed on appeal. And then I got to retry the whole stupid thing as a trial judge. So kudos to Judge Everett stepping up and use the Supreme Court case that was spot on. There's no way this can be appealed. Think back to what State Attorney Jack Campbell said that really ticked me off. He said basically Donna had her counsel of choice and they couldn't step in. Otherwise it could get, reversed on appeal or tied up in appeal. Baloney. That's complete, absolute trash, garbage statement he gave. He talked about other cases, how great they did for other cases. And it's really an insult to Markells. I just still can't believe you'd make such an idiotic comment like that to the Markells, talking about how great you do in other cases. And you have 100 murder cases pending there in Tallahassee. So anyway, I just thought this right here is an indictment of his public address statement showing that he doesn't even know the law and he's a state attorney. Okay. So that's the way this thing's been dragging on. Nobody cares to know the law and conflicts down there in the Tallahassee courtroom. And finally, the judge steps in and cites the right case law. Nobody's going to appeal this thing. Nobody. Okay. The judge has a Supreme Court case law to back him up. And nobody's that idiotic to try to appeal this thing as an appellate lawyer. You could bring this to probably any appellate lawyer in Florida and say, hey, you think we ought to appeal this thing about all these three lawyers getting bounced off the case? Rashbaum, of course, did it on his own. So we're down to two guys that are wanting to take Donna's money and try this case as defense counsel. It's not going to happen. It's just a complete waste of time. So when you stop to think about what this means for administration of justice, we've waited all these months, almost a year now. Donna's Adelson's been in pretrial confinement. They're in the Leon County Jail, and she's had conflict on what the real ramifications are for what she's waiving. Granted, the judge didn't do it either, okay, but now it's finally been done. But who really faces ramifications now is these attorneys that have been on the case conflicted. So every single one of these attorneys, except for Adam, that being Alex Morris and especially Rasham, they could be facing malpractice suits for her, the client staying in jail, rotting away in jail there. We've seen how much she's aged over this time frame, and you're not doing a service to justice at all if you stay on as a conflicted counsel. You're setting yourself up for malpractice. You're setting yourself up for a malpractice, ethical bar complaint, which we understand has already happened for Rashbaum. The same thing will likely happen for Alex Morris as well. So, I mean, this thing's really ugly for these two defense lawyers. And it's only going to get uglier when they get maybe some kind of massive judgment against them, because this thing was a train wreck from the get-go. Nobody understood it down there. Rocket science I'm coming at you with here. It's Crim Law 101. That's to understand conflicts in the constitutional law setting. So in any event, I think it's finally going to start now where they understand the conflict of interest rules there in Tallahassee. And what this means actually is now when you stop thinking about the administration of justice. So the Markells have basically suffered, what is it now, 10 months where Donna has wasted this time waiting to go to trial. They've been waiting to get justice and see her get convicted as she rightfully is due. And now you're basically starting the clock all over again. So now she's got to find a lawyer. For the last 10 months, just wasting away in prison, in jail there. There's a distinction between prison and jail. But her health is not getting any better. The jail food there is absolutely terrible. You can see how she's aged during this time frame. So, I mean, you do want administration of justice, even for the defendants. So no matter how guilty they are, you don't want some kind of kangaroo court or a circuit court convicting American citizens. You want to have the utmost, compliance with the due process clause of the Constitution. And it's like the Constitution didn't even apply down there in that courtroom. So in any event, I just think it's a great day for the Markells that we're now going to get conflict-free lawyers for Donna. Who knows how much money they have to salvage? Maybe they're going to have to sell their high-rise condo to afford it, because what lawyer is going to want to take this case knowing this thing has been botched up to that degree? How are they going to rehash the motions? All the rulings that the judge made on this case, these motions are out there now as well. And so they're going to have to, adopt some or start some more or supplement them. So all the rulings sort of have to be haggled all over again. And I've never seen that happen before, where you get counsel removed right before the start of the trial. I mean, this thing is that much of a disaster, embarrassment, absolute utter embarrassment for the whole Tallahassee legal framework. Attorney that what I'll call an arrogant, pompous, disrespectful statement to the Markells on how basically this Markell case isn't important enough to them. Know your job, Jack Campbell. Get to the bottom of this case and get the right arrest done. You're letting this case drag on. You're making it a cold case when you had enough evidence right there months after the murder to nail all four of these Florida Adelsons, and you dragged your feet in incompetence. You're swimming in incompetence. Know your game. Get your A game on, and quit disrespecting the Markells like that, okay? It's an absolute disgrace to the profession. I'm embarrassed for you all down there. If you don't understand what it means to take your job seriously, know the law, know the facts, and try the evidence. And if you don't have the right courage to do it, resign. Just absolutely resign and go home. And why don't you just be a plea bargain lawyer? This goes out there and plea bargains everything. That doesn't know how to have a contested case, doesn't understand clear of conflicts. So are you going to stand up and do the right thing now and get these other Adelsons arrested? That's the only thing you got really to redeem the embarrassment and disgrace, the public disgrace. What a spectacle of embarrassment. I just can't. I've never seen anything this crazy. And like I said, this case is the most bizarre true crime case you'll ever see, because not only do you have the most idiotic, brain dead, educated folks, rich folks that are doing the most harebrained plan that they thought was great, have them come back on them. They had these political connections that extended all the way to Tallahassee, where the state is, and they thought that they're going to get away with it. And you know what? They have, because of weak and pathetic people in leadership positions. Okay, that's what it really comes down to. We got a crisis, I'd say, probably in every profession, every state government office, full federal. It's really a cesspool of incompetence, self-dealing, corruption. And we have that here in Tallahassee to a large part as well. So they need to step it up now that they got some this kind of public exposure. I don't believe for a second there's an ounce of any kind of corruption in Judge Everett. I want to make that clear. There's not an ounce of corruption in Judge Everett. He's an honorable, straight shooting guy. My read on him is 100%. He's trying to do the right thing. He just didn't know what the conflict issue was. So he should have been properly briefed, though, by the lawyers. You got lawyers on both sides. This was a new issue, apparently, for him. So Judge Everett did the right thing. He had the guts to call us out on his own, which I said he should have done. I said, don't wait, ask for lawyers to brief you on it. Because if it's a novel issue, ask lawyers to brief you on it. And then you'd see how easy it was that you had this Supreme Court case law to actually back you up and get these clowns bounced out of your courtroom. You know, in a way, I wish he could bounce Jack Campbell off this case and they bring somebody else from a different circuit, because he's really mucked this case up. His lack of due diligence and the lack of ability to know the law, and then basically misciting the law when he's given a briefing, because the entire case that you're about to try got blown up and you lost the lead defense counsel and you think it's fixable. So you obviously don't know what you're doing. Get the right prosecutors in there and unleash them to do their job. I think Georgia didn't know the law on this either. I don't know why Sarah didn't bring something up. Maybe she did. I don't know. But you got this many lawyers in Tallahassee not knowing what they're doing. I mean, they got the evidence there, and they got the same. All they got to do is 2.0 on Donna from Charlie and add some of this new stuff as well. Donna should have been arrested with Charlie. She wasn't. This whole trial was an absolute waste of time. If they would have tried, I think sooner, I don't think Washington would have tried to represent them both. And if he would have, you could have gotten a bounce at that time, because he'd been representing Donna and then Charlie. So really, if you look at this, if you had all the 4 Florida Adelsons charged from the get-go, you would have had Rashbaum trying to represent 2 of them, let's say. He would have been removed from both of them right then. So these Adelsons could have been convicted years ago, many, many years ago. But no, what do you have? You have weak and pathetic leadership in the state attorney's office. Whatever connections they had to politicians might have affected that as well. We don't know the exact details, but it looks absolutely like there's political strings being pulled from the previous state attorney, Willie Meggs. And so in any event, yes, it is great news, as Tay says. I'm very, very thrilled that the judge at least understands the conflict of interest, when all the attorneys practicing in front of him don't know a single thing about it. Okay, it's an absolute clown show. Anyway, I'm so angry about it, as you can tell. Sorry, but it very, very much infuriates me that this kind of a clown show was going on in that courtroom, disrespecting the Markells and justice for the person that was actually murdered, Dan Markell, Professor Dan Markell, the FSU Law School. So anyway, this thing is going to be on the right tracks now. Judge Everett gets it, and I think Judge Everett will make sure none of these clowns that have been tied to any of these Adelsons or other co-defendants are going to show up for Donna. And think about it. How's Donna going to find a lawyer now? Is Harvey going to go out there and start knocking on doors down in Miami? Is Harvey going to go up there and start knocking on doors in Tallahassee? Tallahassee, I mean, pretty much everybody knows about this case. Probably everybody's got some kind of opinion or conflict on it now. I don't know what options they really have. Maybe they have to go down the road to Jacksonville, Florida, which is a couple hours away. But in any event, it's very much shocking, just a shock that it took this long to get conflicted counsel bounced off the case. But thankfully, it was finally done. And it's very much going to be a case where, think about the time now it's going to take Donna's new counsel to get up to speed. Keep in mind what I've said about Donna's counsel. Rob knew this case for years. I'm sure he was handed the case file back in 2016 when the other co-defendants were arrested, the hitmen. I'm sure they were working some kind of defense network. So file since 2016. And that's why he was able to try this case in less than a year for Donna. But now you get a new counsel on the case. New counsel aren't as eager to go after defending somebody on a murder case, which is single-digit months to prepare. Can it be done? Yes. It's a case that complicated that you couldn't do it. But you got to figure out from many different angles of strategy and tactics that you want to use. And most lawyers don't want to put that kind of pressure to go that speedily to court to represent something where they're facing life without parole. Maybe they also want to do like sentence mitigation if their client's convicted, and in case it's not murder one that Donna's convicted of. Because if Donna goes down on murder one, it's life without parole. There's no mitigation evidence to present. absolutely nothing. She's going down, going to be locked up forever. But let's just say she comes down with murder 2, where she has a chance of parole. You need to have mitigation type experts involved. There's a lot of other type of experts they could use on this case potentially, or at least they don't know. They need to flesh it out. So that can take many months to iron that all out. So in any event, and when you look at all the different witnesses that are involved, all the different nuggets of information, I'll say, you know what, Donna, maybe we need it. You're going to get cooked in court. You're not going to win. You're going to wind up getting convicted. So do you want to cut a deal? Do you want me to try to get you a sweetheart deal like Katie McBanois got, where you're going to basically get out of jail free card? But you got to be willing to give up Harvey and Wendy. You're willing to do that. You know, have those frank conversations. No way those conversations ever occur with Rashbaum. And then Alex Morris, what was he doing there? It's like a potted plant sitting along as a sidekick for Rashbaum. I mean, it makes no sense that anybody would join Rashbaum like Alex Morris did. It's just really insane. So anyway, that's sort of my take on it. Let me go back to this opinion, and it was only a 2.5-page opinion, and it's something that the judge didn't need to elaborate too much on because it's so clear cut. It's so clear cut, and he cites Florida ethics rules where it says that Florida attorneys have an ethical responsibility to refrain from engaging conduct to disrupt and conduct which is prejudicial to the administration of justice. While the defendant retains presumptive right under the Sixth Amendment to her counsel of choice, not absolute. And then he cites that Wheat case that I cited in my statement I gave a couple weeks ago when this first blew up. I cited the Wheat case as a 1988 Supreme Court case. And that's the main case to open and shut this issue. He then went on to say that the presumptive right under the Sixth Amendment counsel of choice cannot interfere with fair and orderly administration of justice or the court's authority to monitor and control the pace of litigation. Well, guess what? If you don't get rid of all these counsel, it's going to wind up blowing up in their face sometime later. And then he cites the Florida General Practice Judicial Administration Rule 2.545. The next paragraph, he goes on to say both federal and state courts have repeatedly made clear that the right to counsel cannot be manipulated so as to obstruct the orderly procedure in the courts or to interfere with the fair administration of justice. And then he cites another case that's a Fifth Circuit case from 1969, and it's also citing another one from 1984, where it says there the Supreme, in parentheses, he puts down the summary of it, which is a Florida Supreme Court holding that there is no absolute right to a particular counsel when there is a countervailing public interest in the fair and orderly administration of justice. The fair and orderly administration of justice cannot be maintained when conflicted counsel or counsel with a potential, the mere potential, I emphasize that, of conflict cannot meet the standard of serving as constitutionally effective counsel. And then he cites again that Fifth Circuit. The Colker case where it says, explaining the trial courts having the truth-seeking function of the proceedings over which they preside, considering whether the defendant has effective assistance of counsel, regardless of any proffered waiver. So there you go. The judge can pierce any waiver of conflict. They got to make sure this thing gets busted on appeal. Otherwise, think about it. You can just go around and hire conflicted counsel, knowing that they're never going to convict you, and this clog up the court system because you got a conflicted counsel going to get busted on appeal. Witnesses can die over years while it's tied down in the appellate process. And if you're waiting for appellate courts to sort it all out, you know, then by the time they retry it again, I mean, you're talking about multiple years potentially. And then what happens? You got evidence that can go stale, witnesses can die, and stuff like that. So I would say that this is such an easy, simple, straightforward ruling that he didn't even need to get briefed on by the counsel. So I praise Judge Everett for this. Let's see here. What else he goes on to say? He said, furthermore, the danger to conflict free proceedings was not cured by Daniel Rashbaum's withdrawal. Prior to the selection of the jury, Charles Adelson filed a notice indicating his non-waiver of any conflict of interest with Daniel Rashbaum. See Exhibit B. Robert A. Morris then filed a response to which he advised that the party counsel had been retained to resolve any actual or potential conflict of interest. In reply to this response, Charlie Adelson objected to Morris or a third-party counsel cross-examining him. So even Charlie's attorney knew this was a conflict. Alex Morris didn't get it again. I just do not get that. And then it goes on to say that the Third District Court of Appeals, when reviewing the disqualification of counsel in Kolker, disagreed with the proposition that an actual or potential conflict could be avoided by having substitute counsel conduct the cross-examination of a former client. The court then further explained that the conflict arises from the past relationship and cannot be avoided by sectioning off portions of the trial. The potential for conflict would remain, as would the appearance of impropriety. So there you have it. That's what I've been exactly talking about. I did not have to cite case law. It's so abundantly clear. It's so straightforward. Any criminal lawyer that's been practicing and understands the rules and has had co-counsel before knows you don't go down this road. But anyway, it's just something that was completely oblivious to these Florida lawyers, including the state's attorney's office. They should have researched this whole issue. But, you know, Georgia thought she had this thing all settled with Rashbaum. You don't settle this out with the trial attorney, because guess what? What you agreed to with the trial attorney, Rashbaum, hey, we won't call witnesses, or we won't present this kind of evidence to help mitigate the conflict that you're waiving. That doesn't solve it on the at the Court of Appeal level. Appellate counsel will blow that up in their face, and you're stuck back with a reversal error. So anyway, I'm just calling it like it is, and I think any of you guys can see it for what it is as well. Like many of you have had comments on here, you don't have to have a conflict of interest that is actual, mere perception of an actual conflict, mere probability or mere potential of a conflict. However weak it could be, you don't want to go down that road. You got to protect the record. And so with that being said, just think about the magnitude of this ruling. It just is such a dagger to the two defense attorneys, Rashbaum and Morris. They're up to their eyeballs swimming in conflicts. And now you got, this new guy, Adam, can't take it as well. Commissar, they're all three gone. And that's exactly what my title was. A judge must get rid of all these. Very easy to do, and he did it. So with that said, I just can't get over the impact that Donna from scratch. These last 10 months have been for a complete waste of time. She's been sitting in there, rotting in her cell, eating that terrible food. And, now she can start over. It's just like she got arrested today. With this ruling, it's almost like she just got arrested today. Erase the clock. She's got to get new lawyers. They could decide they need a year and a half, 2 years. But what I would do if I was defense counsel, I'd be going in there and saying, look, are you going to let me cut a deal with you? I don't want to take your money. Give me $1 million. I can go to trial. I'll leverage all my best experience, all my tactics and strategies to put the task against the state attorney's office. And you know what, though? To be honest with you, you're going down in flames. Sorry, you're not going to win. So I'm going to be frank with you. I don't know if what your other attorneys have told you, but you're cooked. You're done for. So why don't we talk about serious options here, the pros and cons of each? There was no pros and cons discussion of any of this option of pleading guilty. I guarantee you that was the case. So guess what happens now that she's looking at maybe another year and a half, 2 years for an attorney's ready? Potentially she could try to leverage it and say, well, I want somebody that's going to try this case in 3 months, or otherwise I'm not going to hire you. I don't know what attorneys would do that, but when you got a lot of money on the table, being able to offer it up, maybe an attorney would say they'd do that. But I would say that it's very much, something that she can't go out there and dial up numbers for attorneys to come visit her and stuff like that. It's going to have to be somebody on the outside. And keep in mind, these conflicted attorneys can't reach out like they did for Adam Commissar and say, hey, are you willing to come in as a conflict-free counsel to support the main defense team? That doesn't work. It doesn't cure the conflict. They're all conflicted. So they can't even find another attorney for it. So Donna's going to have to do it on her own. Somebody's going to find him for Wendy. I don't think is even talking to her mom. Wendy doesn't know probably criminal defense lawyer, but she's probably in the best position. So you're probably stuck with Harvey going out there, going through the yellow pages or going through Google searches, trying to find a lawyer to do this. So anyway, it's just it's a real black eye the last 10 months and the last 10 plus years for the state attorney's office being in over their heads and not knowing what they're doing. And anyway, at least I think now this conflict issue was the only issue that would be something that Donna could get an acquittal on, or excuse me, a reversal reversible error on an appeal. They would have easily had a slam dunk win. They got the evidence there. Like I say, just try Charlie's case over again and add the new stuff, flight to avoid prosecution, some of the jail calls and stuff like that. Some of those clips are very damning for her as well. So with that being said, if you guys have questions, it looks like you guys, I've been on 30 minutes for this, but it's finally here, folks, where we got a bright, wonderful day for this massive boulder hanging around the neck of this case from having it sustained and affirmed on appeal. So now we're going to get rid of this. It was the only issue that bring down this case on appeal. They will get a conviction. And anyway, this is great to see finally. So with that, if you guys have any questions, if you can, like I've normally done, ask you to put it in red emojis, so that way I can distinguish questions y'all have from internal chats with y'all. My mouse is not working for some reason right now, so I'm going to have to use my my pad here, and it's not really working that great. Hold on a second. Okay. I'm using StreamYard, and okay, Debbie Blair is saying, do you think Dan's in the background and has given Harvey attorneys names to hire for Ghana? Gosh, I hope not. As I was just saying, he needs to stay clear. Anything with Rashbaum's name or connections to Rashbaum, they need to cut the cord on, because basically everything he's done on this case is a disaster in the making. And think about the case now with Charlie. Charlie having this whole issue with mommy's lawyer representing him at his trial. I mean, this thing is, Charlie's case is really ugly. And I know some YouTuber down there in Tallahassee said there's only a 10% chance that this will affect Charlie's appeal. I beg to differ. I'd flip those numbers around. My best guess is probably a 90% chance Charlie's case will be appealed and reversed based on this issue alone. So it's just one of these head scratching things where I don't know what they're drinking in the water down there in Tallahassee, but man, they better get some knowledge of the law better than what they've been showing, not only in court but outside of court as well. These attorneys, I can think of two of them off the top of my head. I won't say their names. I said this was not a big deal. It's fixed now. It was never an issue. So anyway. All right, let's see. Okay, now I can scroll up. KCL, you're asking, didn't the feds want this case at one point? I thought I read that. Yeah, there's sort of conflicting information about that. I'd heard that Isom sort of shopped it, Detective Isom, that is, shopped it to the U.S. Attorney's Office, or at least that's what the report is, and that they didn't want to take it. But you also got to keep in mind, based on the political alignments between the U.S. Attorney's Office at the time and also the state attorney's office that was run by Willie Meggs initially, you weren't getting any kind of effort by Willie Meggs to get the feds to pick this up. And I doubt that the current one there that's been there since January of 2017, Jack Campbell, I doubt he's going to go to the feds. And you know what? If he really cared about justice, if he said he's got his court calendar all bogged up with these other murder cases, then ask the U.S. attorneys to take it on. Admit to them that you don't know what you're doing. You're way over your head. You thought this conflict issue was an easily resolved issue. Ask the feds to take it on and just admit that you're incompetent for the last many years on getting this case prosecuted. All right, next one. Okay, Nanette is saying, so who benefited from this mess, Donna or Wendy? Well, I would say probably for Donna. Donna thought she was having the last 10 months going in her favor, where she got to have her beloved second son, Rashbaum, as her lead counsel. Now that he's had to sever the cord with her and there's no contact whatsoever, assuming he's following the proper procedures, where if you have a conflict, you completely absolve your case from that client. So I would say with Wendy, it's helping Wendy because potentially, but if Jack Campbell does his job, gets off his sitting on his hands and arrests Wendy and Harvey, then it's going to help neither one of them. So it's actually would serve to hurt Donna more than Wendy. But Wendy should have been arrested many years before, just like Donna. So, if they're doing this one at a time until a conviction, it's time for you to give that up, Jack Campbell. That's weak and pathetic. Bottom line, weak and pathetic. And you need to step aside and have the feds or somebody else step in, or bring in some outside counsel from the Florida Attorney General's office down the street, because you're too weak on crime, and Markell's deserve better. And your press conference was an absolute embarrassment. You're no prosecutor, in my opinion. You're a politician. And by the way, politicians run for just these kind of state attorney's office anywhere across the land where you can run for an office as a prosecutor. It's all tied in with politics. I've seen it where you have people that become head prosecutors as elected officials because they're rubbing elbows with all the right politicians, and they absolute are terrible lawyers. They complete garbage lawyers, but they get in there because they're politicians. Okay, so you don't have to prove yourself. And I think what happens, a lot of Americans tend to think, well, you're an elected prosecutor, you must have done really good as a prosecutor, gotten a lot of convictions, been tough on crime. No, actually, you're a good politician more than anything, because you can totally be terrible as a prosecutor. But if you got the right political connections, people will think you're great at it. So I don't know what this case is with Jack Campbell down there, what kind of a prosecutor he was, what kind of cases he tried. And the thing is, a prosecutor, it's really easy to have a good record as well, because the bottom line is you can pick and choose what cases you want to go to trial. You can settle the ones, dismiss the ones you think are too tough on you. So if you only take the case where you think you're absolutely sure you won't be embarrassed by and, get an acquittal on, or a hugely reduced charge is what the jury comes back on, then you can afford to sit there and say, well, you know what, the evidence doesn't support it, and we need to go one at a time and all that kind of stuff. It's just that you don't know what you're doing. You're a politician. So it looks like he's a politician and not a real prosecutor in my book. So why, if you're a real prosecutor, Jack Campbell, then prove it. Okay? Prove it. Sir Tedwick Walker, hello. You're asking, will Rashbaum face consequences for his non-ethics? Absolutely. I think he's going to get in trouble with state bar. Would they slap on the wrist, do something more? Who knows? But Tallahassee and is a state capital seat there. This is in the backyard of people that work on the ethics committee there, most likely. And so maybe this egg on their face will make them stand up, and you'll get more punishment. Maybe they'll give you suspended for a year. I don't think he'll be permanently disbarred or anything like that, but maybe he'll have some period of suspension and whatnot. So I'll that as well, because that would be public. So when attorneys get notice of a complaint, that process is pretty much done in secret across the state bars, unless they actually have an adverse finding of impropriety done by the attorneys where they're doing something ethically wrong, and then they'll make a public declaration, a decision on that. So I would expect that to be on Rashbaum's case as well. And a lot of times they can plead bargain and negotiate maybe how many months they serve if the attorney admits to misconduct and ethical violations. So that remains to be seen. But like I say, also you're talking about malpractice coverage. I don't know if Rashbaum has malpractice insurance. A lot of criminal defense lawyers don't, because they figure their client doesn't have the money to sue them anyway, and they're all guilty for the most part. So the odds of you getting someone to sue you are slim to none. So I mean, he could be talking about losing a funds through a conviction, and maybe he might have to declare bankruptcy or something if the conviction is big enough. But in any event, letting your client rot in the jail there for 10 months at 73, 74 years old, all because you didn't know the law and the conflict of interest, it looks really bad. It looks really bad. So I think he's going to get slammed on some kind of, either if he goes to trial, or he's going to have to settle big, whether he has insurance company representing from the malpractice. But definitely expect a malpractice action out of this. Okay, Patricia S., you're asking, does Donna's lawyer's resignation at this stage give her a shot at reversal? And Charlie, too, that would be a travesty of justice. I hate to disagree, but it seems like this isn't over. No, I would say it's over for Donna's sake. It's not over for Charlie. So Charlie's conflict is still out there. And I guarantee you that's something that Ufferman said it's due on the 18th of October. And so I guarantee you this is going to be the main issue that everything is fed through, that Charlie had a conflicted lawyer with this Rashbaum guy that represented his mother initially, and then he's representing him, and he never got unfettered, conflict-free advice. He went to trial on it. They never discussed the options to flip on other Adelsons. And I mean, it just looks so bad. And so anyway, yeah, so I think there's a good chance. I think there's a good chance that it could get reversed on appeal. But the state attorney's office is going to go ahead and retry it, I assume, because he's got a slam dunk win of a case against him, and so yeah, Malibu. That's how poor the lawyering can be in that Tallahassee courtroom. Okay, Dust Witch, is Judge Everett conflicted as well? Do you think that they will change judge? No, absolutely not. Judge Everett the judges are not conflicted like that unless there's a personal conflict. So if, for example, Judge Everett had personally represented an Adelson before and they had that kind of connection where it looked like he might be having some kind of a favoritism or whatnot with the defendant, then he would have to recuse himself. And if he didn't, then of course the attorneys could do that as well. But as I've said, Judge Everett, I have the highest regards for from the standpoint of his integrity, his demeanor, and I think that if anything, I think this is a real wake-up call and learning lesson for him, and he's never going to make this mistake again. And I think he is a judge there in Leon County to try this case. He just was asleep at the switch, probably had this issue come up before, and lo and behold, wow, what a time for it to come up right before the start of a murder trial in your courtroom. So I'm sure he's completely embarrassed by it, but I mean, he's a great guy, and he's going to get beyond this. And so I think he's gonna call a spade a spade. He's going to do the right thing in the courtroom. He doesn't play any favorites. I mean, you can see it through Judge Everett. He's the kind of guy that's not gonna play favorites. He's going to make sure the defendant gets a fair trial. And he just didn't see this issue of denying Donna a fair trial, but he gets it now. He made that bold statement in that ruling today, and it's great news to see that. Juniper, I would say it's more than just one attorney that's lost their mind. So down there in Tallahassee, it's multiple. That's why I say there's what are they drinking down there? Something in the water, right? Mary Kay Radliff is saying, I wonder if Jack Campbell has any ties to John Lauro. Well, I don't know what those two ties are, but boy, you just wonder, why is he dragging his feet on arresting Wendy? There's overwhelming evidence to get her convicted as well. So you let killers walk the streets. How do you have a conscience tonight? That's the politics side of it. You're a politician, you don't really have justice flowing through your veins, and you can sleep good at night knowing that criminals are walking the street, including murders, and you just don't care about it. So it just shows from his press conference he doesn't give really a damn about the injustice done to the Markells. He doesn't. And if he really did, he would step it up and get on with it. Cindy's asking, will the judge give Donna a time frame to find another lawyer? Yeah, he's got to be able to grant the lawyer the adequate preparation time. Remember, he gave a multiple month extension for Rashomon when he represented Charlie, and so this is going to be the same kind of thing. Whatever a lawyer says, hey, I'm looking at the file initially, and I'm going to need X number of months or a year or two to prepare. So in any event, that's going to bring in more time for Donna. I mean, Donna could have something very, very much, affect her health meanwhile. And if she knows she's got to wait another year and a half to go to trial, I mean, you talk about mental breakdown. Yeah, that's you're really hitting a wall. I've said before this, when you're at when you hit like the 8th month mark, 7-8 month mark in combat, I can tell you, you start losing your mental composure at times. And when you got different stressors and stuff like that, you can act differently and do stuff that are out of character, because you really hit a wall. And I'm talking about all soldiers. They'll tell you that they've been down there, that those that like the Marine Corps, they can redeploy back home every 7 months. Much better for your mental health and your fitness to fight the battle that if you're there for a year, I'm telling you, life really passes you by in that year. So you really miss out on so many things back home, and you really lose sight and focus of what life's about in a lot of ways. So in any event, I think the same thing happens to a defendant like her that's that long in jail. And it's all for naught, and you got to start from the clock all over again and get a lawyer up to speed. And imagine what she's battling in her mind right now. I'm like, is she even come to grips with what Rashbaum did to her? He took her money, being so conflicted. I mean, you look at this ruling, you know, if I was sitting with her as her lawyer explaining this ruling, I said, Rashbaum, did he just miss this, or did he intentionally do this? I mean, this is like so bad. You just wasted all this time the last almost a year in the Leon County Jail, just rotting away. And Rashbaum was never ready to go to trial with this conflict free. And did he advise you on this and that on the conflict part of it? Did he advise you that he can't talk to you about, you know, flipping on other people and how you might want to get a third party lawyer involved and get truly conflict free advice? But anyway, it didn't happen. And it's yeah, it does look like, as Frisbee saying, it does look like a money grab. That's what it looks like. I'm not saying it is, but it sure looks that way. Letterman's girl, you're asking if Donna's offered a plea would hasten Wendy's arrest, assuming she tells the truth and is willing to tell how they're all involved. They're the Florida Adelsons, including Harvey and including Wendy. So if she is willing to roll over and get new counsel, but keep in mind, what I've also been saying is that the wealthier the client, the less likely you're to get the truth from your lawyer. Okay, I've seen that in my career over and over again. If you get the more money you got, the more lawyers willing to talk a big game and tell you they're going to get your charges dismissed, or they can take it to trial and get an acquittal. You'll be going home. You'll never have a conviction to worry about. So those kind of things are what you get when you got a lot of money. If you're a poor client, they want to sell your case as soon as possible. They don't really want to try the case if you don't have enough to pay them for a jury trial. And if you're court appointed, you can get money there, and it's maybe not as much of an issue. If you get public defender types, money should not be an issue at all. They get the same pay no matter what they do, whether they plead you out or jury trial. But jury trial is a lot harder. And if you get a jury trial and you got a lawyer that's lazy and afraid to go to court and doesn't like going to trial and battling it out, slugging it out, because a lot of lawyers are not cut out for that kind of warfare. So in any event, you know, Donna does not have a good case, but because she's got money, the lawyer may tell her, yeah, let's try the case that Rashbaum couldn't, and give me $1 million and I'll go to trial. But in the end, she's going to wind up going down the river. Julie Nielsen, that's a good question here. You're asking, is the October 15th off now? You know, I've not seen that that's changed off the calendar. But right now, Donna has no lawyer to show up to court. So I think it is by operation of the court's order. No one's there to show up. I think you'll see a new scheduling order come out. And maybe what they'll do is they'll just have a hearing and they'll apprise Donna what's going on and that she's going to have to get new counsel. So maybe the judge is going to do that if we don't have counsel making an appearance before then. So she's not even going to have a lawyer there. Do you realize how embarrassing that looks for Leon County, for that whole judicial district and state attorney's office district? It's like really embarrassing. I've never seen anything like that. It's that bizarre. Yeah, Milton, I've not heard the latest on that in a couple hours, but I think it's supposed to hit like Wednesday evening. So I think it's gonna avoid the Keys. So I think we're good here. But yeah, it's gonna hit up near Tampa Bay, I think. All right, so here we have let's see. Sir Tedrick Walker is saying Donna won't take the plea. She cannot admit anything wrong. Yeah, you know, if you get the right lawyer in there, you'd be surprised. Like I say, if you're not corrupted by the influence of money, because think about it, if you're telling a client, hey, I know you got millions, so why don't you give me $1 million? I'll get you out of this jam, no problems. Versus and going to jury trial, you could ask for $1 million, but if the lawyer's coming in there saying, hey, I'll plea bargain this down for you, I'll get you out in no time, and I want $1 million. I mean, what do you think the client's going to say? Why am I getting $1 million? Close out a deal in a few weeks and only taking a few hours here and there. So it's, like I said, huge loss of money for a lawyer to agree to do a plea bargain here. And if you do a flat fee, the flat fee technically could include a plea negotiation, but most lawyers get retained on a murder case, they're not going to be talking about plea bargains with her initially. Okay, they want to get the money, they want to get that in their lawyer trust account, and they want to get the cash checked. They want to set it structured where even if they work a plea agreement, they get to keep the funds. But a lot of that kind of stuff can be and tricky as well, because if there's misrepresentation that the client says the money out of them. I know I've represented somebody like that before, and even though they got a flat fee, I was able to get most of that back because they misrepresented the person on a personal injury case. There's a lot of shady stuff and grift type of stuff that lawyers can get caught up in, and so who knows what's going to happen on that. But eventually, if you get the right lawyer, maybe she would plead guilty. Geraldine Hanna is asking, do I think Tim Jansen, I think you mean, could be her lawyer? Boy, I guess he's not representing any Adelson, but he sure talked a lot about him. So I think with all the comments he's made about, different things, pro and con for Donna, he said she'd never get arrested. He said Wendy should never get arrested. And then he's flopped, stuff like that. I just don't see him being in the running for this kind of case at all. He's been too much out there talking about it, and I think he was trying to get on the case originally, and I think that it didn't pan out, and I think they've already came to a foregone conclusion. He's not going to ever be in the running again. That's my guess. Mary Kay Ratcliffe again. You're saying corruption runs deep in Tallahassee. Yeah, I mean it really looks that way. What about incompetence though? Corruption is something different than incompetence. But if you got those two things tying together, yeah, you can have a railroad of justice here. Ambush 60 saying, why would they not bring in Wendy for perjury while they're working on her participation in a murder case? At least she'd be contained. Movies. Well, no, I mean, that's a good point, but they got enough there to go on all the charges, perjury and murder, and the same other secondary charges, conspiracy to commit murder, and and the other third one as well. So I don't know why they're waiting, dragging their feet, but they're not, like I say, they when you got a politician running the show and leading the justice mission in a locality there, like the district that the state attorney's office is in Tallahassee, then you can have politics and incompetence rule the day instead of competence and just doing the right thing from a justice standpoint. So like a combination of politics and lack of competence of why the other Florida Adelsons have not been arrested many years ago. Just not now. It should have happened many years ago. But I'll call it what it is, which is weak and pathetic people in charge or person in charge. Yes, I agree. Jack Campbell, please prioritize the Adelson case. You've been asleep at the switch for years, not doing the right thing. YB, yeah, everybody, Jack Campbell, what kind of legacy is he leading here? Doesn't even know the law, gives such an asinine press conference, basically saying like the Adelson case is the prosecution of them isn't a big enough deal to the Markells. He's got enough other murders to go after. It's just disgraceful. Susan B., you're saying, in my opinion, Charlie does not have a chance for appeal. Yeah, I hope I'm wrong on that. I don't know, how Florida Supreme Court looks at conflicted counsel and if they'll make an exception here, but it looks bad for Charlie's case. It does. Very disappointing, Jack Campbell. Betty's Playhouse is exactly what happens in Lincoln County. Patty's from there, as I understand, so she's grew up there. So that's a reflection of the how it doesn't really matter competence so much as what connections you got. I think it shows up here. All right, there we go. Hold on. Campbell is spoon feeding us total garbage. Yeah, I mean, it was just absolute. I mean, he would have been better off if he just said nothing, as taking it under, like, advising, hey, we're going to research this issue. We'll get back to you, make a statement. No, he was doing a total statement to make himself look good and act like he did nothing wrong. But he was so incompetent in this area. He should have known the law. He had all these people research it. They just sat on this issue. And like I say, Donna being in jail for 10 extra months, and we're starting from day one now, is not such a big deal to me because she's guilty. If she was innocent, I'd be very incensed if I had an innocent client that sat there and this kind of nonsense was going on, this clown show. But okay, she's guilty, so I'm not worried about her. It does look bad from the optic standpoint of justice, overall administration justice, nonetheless. But when you combine that, the fact that you got victims here that are waiting 10 months on top of the 9+ years before she got arrested, it is an absolute disgrace. Cat Love Drew is saying, do I think Jack Campbell is going to let Wendy continue to get away with murder? You know what? I hope not. I hope he has the guts to stand up and do the right thing, not be a complete coward like he's been. So that's what he's been, as a political hack, political coward, that kind of thing. Sorry, it has to be really bad before I'll use those kind of terms. Somebody has to really be bad. I don't like using those kind of terms for anybody. I try to believe the best in people, but really your record and your legacy you're leaving, Jack Campbell, is a travesty, and it's going to be long lasting. Even if you arrest Wendy, get her convicted, and Harvey as well, this is a big embarrassment. You went public and you made it sound like you didn't know the law, and you don't know the law based on this judge's ruling. Anybody needs to just compare the judge's order with what you said publicly, and they get it, that you don't know what you're doing. You don't know the law. And that's why that Markells have been suffering this many years, is that you don't know the law. You don't know what you're doing, as you should. Roger W. saying, when I think this trial will be commenced, it all depends what kind of lawyer they get and whether he's going to even consider entertaining some kind of plea agreement, or whether he wants to go slug it out in a jury trial, which will be an absolute waste of effort. But like I say, rich people don't want to talk to lawyers. Their clients end up pleading guilty, because then you lose a lot of money. So that's why I don't think it's going to happen likely. But if Donna is willing to just do what it takes to get out as soon as possible and not try to have her day in court, and if a lawyer levels with her and says, look, there's no way you're going to win this case, it's an absolute slam dunk, then maybe we could get a plea agreement out of it. So I don't know how many lawyers you have that are that principled in the way they represent their clients that they would go for and say, you know what, I'm not gonna sell you a bill of goods and tell you got a winnable case and take 1.5 million from you when I know that no lawyer is going to win your case. Okay, so I think what I've seen is like that Stephen Webster. I can just tell he's a stand-up guy. I think he would be the kind of guy that does the straight shooting with Donna if he was representing her, but he can't represent her. He's conflicted as well, because he represented the Honorable Professor Markell. See-through is saying the prosecution's desire to continue was just as harebrained. Yeah, it's just when you heard the hot mic and Georgia saying, we had this worked out with the defense lawyers, and acting like, why can't, it's Ufferman's being unreasonable or something like that. That's how I interpreted her comment. It just shows she has no clue, didn't do any legal research, didn't even spend 3 seconds doing a Google search like I did and find the exact case law and point Supreme Court case law that Judge Everett cited. So that's how lazy, I would say laziness really permeates so many professions. And so maybe they're focusing on just the big issues in trials because they got too many of them, and maybe they don't have enough help. But what are the cases? But if you got a murder case, I don't care if you got to work nights, weekends. I don't care if you get only 4 hours sleep a night. You owe that to the victims to do your job right. If you can't, move on, get out of there, do a different profession, do a different area of law. Victims are relying on you and depending on you. Shani Garnett, you're asking, did I lose my patient with Jack Campbell and Associates? I'm here for it. Yeah, I lost patients a long time ago. I just been sort of bottling it up and doing rants here and there. But yeah, it's really hard to keep it in and keep it under wraps here when I see this building train wreck that's so easily predictable and these people sleep at the switch. Okay, Janie Garner, I'll come back to you. You're saying you're a little concerned that Winnie's going to skate. No, she's not going to skate. She's not going to skate at all. All I got to do is arrest her. All I got to do is arrest her, indict her, like the same charges that her mom and her brother were arrested on, and go after it. Go after it. Don't have some weak, pathetic, spineless people in charge of the decision. Have people that know what they're doing. Mike Petty, Donna should shoot Rashbaum, sue everybody. Well, that includes Morris. I mean, Morris should have known that as well. So I just think that there's a chance that, she could maybe get her next attorney paid for by her malpractice action against Rashbaum. But then again, having to eat that jail food for another year and a half or two. I mean, is she going to survive that? That could be, something that mentally I could say you break down in a combat type of setting where you have freedom of movement, you're not in a cell, and you can have walk long distances, go to chow halls, be in big offices, stuff like that. That's what I had, for example, in different combat settings in Iraq and also down in Kuwait. And when I was there for 2 years of my life, you really, like I say, you really hit a wall. Roger W., you're asking, can Donna get a refund from Rashbaum Morris? Well, Rashbaum bought that house, right? I think it was a $1.6 million house. So he's already blown all his money. So you might have to turn around and sell his house to get out of this hot mess. Hey, there's Skeeter Girl saying she's driving home from Lake Texoma. Okay. Really close to that. Not right now, though. But yeah, that's a beautiful lake area there in southern Oklahoma, Texas area. Okay, Leslie Ann is saying, is malpractice a criminal charge or only civil? That's only civil. It's just a civil lawsuit type of thing you can bring. And a lot of lawyers don't want to bring lawsuit actions against other, but you can. I think like this, we got such obvious conflicts. I think there'd be a number of attorneys willing to take the case. Sorry, I got my computer here on a couple books and a pillow. So if you see the camera moving around while I'm moving the screen or the scrolling through the questions. Bugs Bunny Brothers saying at least Donna stays in jail during this time. Now she just needs the rest of her family to be there. Yeah, the rest of the Florida Adelsons, obviously, we're not talking about the honorable doctor in New York area. So, yeah, I saw a question there. Georgia are not conflicted. They did not have personal representation or any of these co-defendants. So they do not have a conflict. Neither does the judge. Just for you that are on, I'm in Isla Mirada. here with my fiance working next to me on her legal stuff. And well, here, LJ, you're saying my recollection is that the local police department self-conflicted on this case back in the Katie days. I don't know what you mean by self-conflicted themselves on this case. I thought that the one that was really showing partial and preferential treatment was Meggs by making public comments in support of the Adelsons and saying he would be sued if he charged any of them with the murder of Mr. Markell. So that was what really botched it up and showed how political a state attorney can be, and it's still not out of the woods yet with Jack Campbell. Right now, my screen's not moving. Yeah, I don't know where Rashom's house is. I don't really get caught up in that. I heard something about he had bought some house somewhere in the Miami area. I'm not going to worry about that, but yeah, what a travesty. Let's see. Kimberly Poritz is saying, "What if Wendy tried to leave the country? Do you think she'd be arrested?" And boy, I sure hope so. If they're that flat-footed, if that low energy, lack of a follow through on going after a murderer like that, then it's really like I say, the guy needs to go. The guy needs to go. Jack Campbell. He doesn't deserve to be a state attorney if he's going to sit on waiting any longer on these other Adelson arrests. All right. Let's see. Tammy's saying Markells, the family of Markells, surviving members of the Markell family of Professor Dan Markell, who you're alluding to here, are the victims of the Adelsons and by the justice system. Yeah, that is a fair and accurate statement. They're a victim of Jack Campbell. I agree. Jack Campbell is victimizing the Honorable Markells, having this thing drag out this many years. Okay, let's see. Okay, trying to get. Oh, Caroline C is saying, is there any chance that the case against Donna could be dismissed because of malpractice? Well, it would be dismissed on appeal if they didn't get rid of the entire defense team. So we don't call it dismissed on appeal. It would be subject to a retrial, a reversible error. So it would have reversed, the conviction would have been reversed, and they would have started over at the trial level. So in any event, I think that now that's been purged, it's been cleared, the deck's been cleared, and she's going to have to get new counsel, and the new counsel won't have any ties to Rashbaum, Alex Morse, or this third guy, Commissar. So it's going to be a completely clean slate. And from that, it'll be cured, and they won't have this issue again, and then she'll be convicted, and there won't be any reversible error. So it took 10 months to get this record straight and get this clown show off the case, but now it's been purged. The clown show's been purged from the courtroom. So anyway, yeah, I'm not drinking here. No, I guess you're saying other people do drink while they're on the show. Okay, now I got control again of questions. Patriotic is saying, you agree corrupt judicial system victimize all of us, survivors, taxpayers, those who will be gravely affected by the bad and just precedents. Thank God it's changing. Social media is helpful, in my opinion. Yeah, I think that's, one of the reasons John talked me into this, because I thought, are they really that weak and pathetic on crime down there in Tallahassee that, nobody's holding them accountable? So that's why I agreed to step it up. And John's the one that talked talked me into this because I surely do not like doing this kind of stuff. I'd rather enjoy a life of privacy. But in any event, some good things have happened as a result. And so I'm forever grateful to him. And no, it's not too late. I'm a little bit slow here. Chris, why the stair step approach? Well, that's the weak political way you do it. If the prosecutor, you take one at a time, slow roll it, and that way you got, you know, a better chance of folks flipping on each other, and you don't have to be as bold and tenacious. You can just sort of like be weak on crime, and let the criminals run the streets, and you know, get away with it for that many more years, because you just don't have the tenacity to do the right thing. So the stair step approach is, you know, not working well. It's not working well enough, and it's disserviced justice for the Markell family. And I think you'll see now. Look at what they're doing in the other case down the road in Jacksonville. They charged multiple folks involved in the murder. They charged the husband and wife for orchestrating the murder of the Jared Bridegan. Old Pueblo Hops, you're saying you wish me and Emma would debate this issue. Be fascinating to watch. I would not debate somebody that that has what I've heard of views. So somebody told me he had a view that this conflict issue wasn't a big deal. So I don't know what there was to argue. He was wrong, and continues to be wrong on a lot of stuff. So anyway, that's all I'll say. I appreciate him bringing a lot of videos over the years, but I cannot disagree with him on many important critical issues. And that's all I'll say. Okay, Reba Lee, you're saying, but they are piling up more evidence by following a stair-step approach. Each time they get more evidence on the next one in line, it's just slow and frustrating. Well, you got to keep in mind, though, if you can charge them quicker in a sequential order. What if you waited a couple months? You don't need to wait years. Look at the evidence that they had against Charlie. You're telling me the Dolce Vita tape, the video enhancement, they sat on that for 6 years. They couldn't have enhanced that sooner. 6 years to get enhanced video. There's people that do that all over the country. There's experts that do that. So they never asked any other expert. They didn't ask the FBI. I mean, that's just inexcusable. It's a farce. It's an excuse. So the stair-step approach, waiting this long, it's not justice, and it's not reasonable. And I would say that the you know, for what evidence you gain, you don't need that extra evidence. You don't need the flight from Donna. You didn't need the conversation with Donna and Charlie on the jail calls. You don't need that kind of stuff. It's just extra evidence that you know, helps make it more of a right prosecutor in there from the evidence they had back in 2016. And it's a win. It's a slam dunk win. And so anyway, it's just, you don't need more lies by Wendy. We got enough lies. So it's really just mind-boggling that, and you got to wait till there's a conviction before you go forward on it. So anyway, I'm not used to seeing a system work like this, and I think it just feeds itself to a system that's weak on crime. I would not want to see that for any victim of a crime, especially not murder. Okay. Oops, sorry. I don't know what happened there. I'm so tired. I'm trying to get your question up here. Do you think that they've already charged anyone else? You know, I think that they still will charge Wendy and possibly Harvey. I think that this egg on their face, I think the fact that Donna doesn't have any counsel now, and she's been sitting there in jail all this time. I mean, this really, a lot of this guilt lies also on Jack Campbell's plate. So the fact that he's just sitting there acting like he didn't know anything about it, and it's really defense counsel choice, and they're just at the defense counsel mercy and who the client wants to hire, the defendant wants to hire, that they don't have any say in it, be reversed. I mean, that's just weak and pathetic excuse for prosecutor. That's all I can say. Just weak and pathetic. Yeah, he is failing 7-7 is saying he needs to arrest the remaining 2 free Adelsons that live in Florida. Absolutely. Let's see. Sarah Soda, you're not asking a question, you're making a statement. You're saying, but then we wouldn't have the bump, the stair-step approach delivered. You don't have to wait that long. How long did it take him to do the bump? Are you excusing all those years of delay that it took to not go forward on that? The bump worked beautiful. That was done in 2016. They had the wiretaps in place. So, no, I'm sorry. I don't agree with you. So, in any event, if you're satisfied with this approach, you wait until your conviction where you go after the next. That's like, it's not necessary to have more than enough available. So unless you're an expert on prosecuting cases, I beg to differ. Juniper, you're saying they all act like this is the only possible way to handle these arrests and prosecutions. Simply not. And they have the power to arrest them all. They have far more evidence than we know about. Yeah, think about the evidence they sat on, the evidence that from 2016, the one that was brought out in Charlie's case about what Wendy did to ask Professor Markell about his availability during the 14 to 18 window of July, the time frame he was murdered. So that was hugely critical damning information against Wendy Adelson, as well as the other Florida Adelsons, and they did not bring that out in any other trials previously. So what does that show? They're really not scrubbing the evidence that much detail. And now we found out more about this conversation between Charlie and Donna having to do with the time frame when the Sigfredo Garcia, the hitman, got arrested. And they're talking about how it was like a drug deal gone bad, and Dan Markell didn't pay him for the drugs he was buying off them. I mean, what happened to the double extortion thing? That's, supposedly in 2 years in the works at that point, and they're talking. They didn't know these people, and they just wound up getting arrested and picked off the street for a bad drug deal. So that is so damning. It completely blows up the this bogus double extortion, what I call a robbery by an installment plan, which is such a bizarre, ludicrous defense. Old Pueblo Hops, they need to arrest Wendy. Can't believe they need her to convict Donna. Would you like to see that arrest in detail? You would like to see that arrest. Well, I've said before, another YouTube lawyer is saying that, no, they need Wendy to testify against Donna. That's why they can't arrest Wendy. That's absolute garbage, in my opinion, because she could be ordered to testify even if she is in jail, and you don't need her. She doesn't testify anything directly to implicate any of the other family members. What she does is just she continually lies. You can see her demeanor and you can see her hatred against Markells. So that is why she's being used as a witness. You can see her lying about the issue, about the book that she wrote about her assays, that she lied about it being about a story based on her life, and she in court said it was based on a friend of hers, and the book itself says it's based on her life in large part. So in any event, the unmitigated hatred she has for Tallahassee and the Markells is something that they don't need to have her on there. They could just show the other types of evidence. Jeff Lacasse, for example, just have him testify as to what Wendy thought about her hatred of Tallahassee and how she hated Dan Markell and always complained about him. It's almost like a daily thing that he mentioned, that she hates Tallahassee and hates Dan Markell. And she can't wait to, in essence, get rid of both of them, is the way it comes across. Oh, thanks, Sally Williams. That's nice of you. Okay, saying you think Georgia has a strategic plan where she wants to call Wendy to testify again. I respect her strategy. Okay, that's fine. I don't think they need her, and I think that's her approach. But in any event, is she going to get arrested soon here? I think regardless of what position you and I take, I think she will be prosecuted, and it just really needs to happen soon. Are they going to wait another year and a half before Donna, let's say, goes to trial to have Wendy come in and testify? I mean, she's going to get another year and a half walk. I mean, these boys are going to be like in college before they get this these other Adelsons prosecuted and convicted. Oh my gosh, this is Dear Bees RN3. You're saying you're raised in Fairview, North Carolina. Between Asheville and Chimney Rock, we lost 2 dear close family members. Mama E was found on Wednesday, and Papa D was recovered yesterday. Please be safe. Many prayers. Yeah, prayers going out to those folks. It's just such a tragedy. I mean, every day you're hearing more stuff about stuff being messed up, not done right, and help not being there like it should. And it's just a complete utter, like I say, it looks like failed leadership too, with FEMA not doing stuff to help things. You can see a lot of reports on YouTube, which I've not spent much time on, but it seems like a lot of stuff is mismanaged there as well. John Winger, you're only 11 years old. Well, congratulations. Didn't know we had folks that young following the channel and or following this kind of case, true crime. How old will you be when it gets put away? Boy, I hope you're still 11. I don't know when you turn 12, but I hope it's any day now. And that's really what Tallahassee's known for, is the city that's afraid to arrest Wendy Adelson, right? Wayne Rogers is saying, I just got off work and I missed what's going on, but my question is exactly what can the Markell family do to push these prosecutors to do something and get Wendy and Harvey to put in the slammer? Well, I think, maybe they're not being tough on the prosecutors and demanding that something be done. And this clown show remains to be a 3-ring circus, and they don't know what they're doing. And this thing just blew up in their face, and then they basically blame the system as being, this is the way it works, and there's nothing they can do about it. Their hands are tied. I mean, I would just rip into Jack Campbell if I was any of the Markells. Just rip in him and tell him exactly what he is, which is weak and pathetic excuse for a prosecutor on this case. He might do great things on other stuff, but on this one, he's a weak and pathetic excuse for a prosecutor. Sorry. That's what it really is. Tanya Bluebell, you're saying someone pointed out this on the last stream. Donna's arrest likely would have dragged out too had she not tried to flee and force her hand. That's why I said, Rashomon has been a great thing for this in some respects, because his advice to Donna, if it's accurate from what Donna reported on our hot mic jail, might not be, but it might be. So he never told her, no, don't flee. You don't want to do that. So yeah, look at how that forced the state attorney's office to scramble and go ahead and get the arrest warrant typed up that day, the same day she's trying to flee out of the country for UAE to try to get to Vietnam with Harvey. So that's how lackadaisical this whole office has been. I mean, if that's also not another indictment, how the low energy type of people, it's just mind boggling. Blue Brown is asking, do I think Charlie has decent appeal? Rashomon being Donna's attorney first, can he successfully use that for new trial? I think so. I think there's a strong chance that could get reversed. I really believe it'll be the main focus on the appeal that he currently has pending. That's going to be filed within a few days by his appellate lawyer. Patriotic is asking, do I think it's more likely Wendy and or Harvey will be arrested sooner rather than later? Now the state's attorney's office has egg on its face from this. I'm open for now. I would say Wendy's going to be arrested sooner than Harvey, but why not arrest them both? And remains to be seen. It's more than egg on your face. It's really what a huge embarrassment. Huge embarrassment. It's disgraceful, and it's embarrassing to see for this going on anywhere in America, anywhere in the world. But Stevie Mack is saying, can the prosecution team be investigated? Well, the leaders, of these offices are all politicians, so politicians aren't really good at holding themselves accountable. So I don't see anything happening from this. Juniper, you're asking if I could see the instrumental conflict from 1,000 miles away. How did it fly over the heads of those who are right there on the case? Yeah, I don't know. That's what I don't get. I can't figure it out. It's just mind-boggling. and it's nothing complex that any lawyer can't see or understand. I'm so tired of saying if Charlie Adelson completely flipped, would they arrest Wendy Adelson immediately? Well, I would hope so. Well, Jack Campbell, who knows? Maybe he wants to get more evidence out there before he does something. Carlos Stewart, I've sort of touched on this before. I'll just say you're asking what happens with all the motions that were previously granted Donna's favor. They're going to have to relook at all those. You know, the judge made those were all made with conflicted counsel. So I would suspect that they got a chance to resubmit the same motions, and they're going to have a chance to have the judge have another hearing on it and pretty much start from scratch. And I think they realize what the judge is going to do, which is rule the same way. So unless they got something different, you know. But if I was an attorney on the case, I would file all new motions. I'd look at what the judge previously ruled and try to see if there's any kind of difference I could raise to get some traction. But in the end, the motions are all going to be having the same outcome as what they got, what the conflicted counsel got. Frog is on. It's asking, does the fact that this is an international case, in a sense, bring more legal scrutiny in any way? Can Canada have any input? Well, so far, I mean, you know, maybe it's helped get Donna arrested sooner. I look at that maybe it's a positive outcome. I think that Charlie maybe got arrested sooner because of that as well. And I think now with you know, this embarrassment that they were sleep a switch on Donna's conflicts issue, maybe they will speed up sooner here and decide to arrest Wendy and Harvey sooner. But it remains to be seen. I'm not that encouraged by the lack of accountability shown by Jack Campbell and his failings as a prosecutor. All right, let's see. Red Couch Diary, you're saying Donna's case is a perfect example how not to conduct a court trial. All parties are responsible, including the judge, who now seems like the only grown up in the courtroom. Yeah, that's the way it really looks right now. It's a lot of folks sleep at the switch, including the judge. But the judge now finally gets it, and he's not going to allow that door to be open again, having conflicted counsel showing up on the case. Okay, so LJ, you're correcting me saying the PD, the public defender, self-conflict on case appeal. Yeah, that was the conflict they had, and that's sort of what the argument why the entire defense team is conflicted in Charlie's case, because you cannot have a kind of a wall, ethical wall among attorneys on a case. The entire organization is conflicted if one of them is. So I made the example: if you go to a 100-person firm, you have a conflict with one of the lawyers on that from that law firm. The entire 99 other lawyers are all conflicted from helping you out on the case, on your case. So unless there's some kind of waiver, but like say in criminal cases, there's a constitutional issue of such a magnitude that attorneys just don't go down that road like Rashbaum and Morris did. Yeah, it's getting all dark behind me here. Yep, I do know that. So anyway, I'm going to go on for, let's see, it's 7:30 now. Been up for almost 90 minutes. So yeah, if there's not anything more set on the 15th, I think the judge will have a hearing. If Donna's there represented by herself, the judge will explain to her as for any whether she's going to be able to hire a lawyer or not. And the judge may inquire whether she needs to get a public defender appointment or something like that, or whether she can afford it or not. And so that might be something they want to do, is see if what is her status on hiring new counsel. Thank you for the wishes. Yeah, I think hopefully this hurricane issue won't be hitting us down here in the Keys. Julie Nielsen, you're saying the hearing is December 10th now. I have not seen that, so Let me go ahead and pull that up. Yep, I do see that now. Okay, thank you. That is now set for case management conference set for December 10th. But I'm looking to see if there was anything that was rescinded for the previous thing scheduled on the 15th. Yeah, I'm not seeing that anything was canceled. And I don't see a copy of any written order, so it remains to be seen, but so I would say there might be something on the 15th. My guess is there probably will be. And you can't have a case management conference if you don't have lawyers on the case, really. The defendant's sitting there and they're going to let from now until December 10th happen without the inquiring as to whether court appointed lawyers need to be assigned or public defenders, or if she's going to retain her own. The court needs to know that. Without lawyers appointed on the case, you really don't have it. You can't have a trial. You can't have a case management hearing. So Jeannie Garnett, I don't think she's going to wind up with a public defender. I still think they have too much money. Okay, you're saying canceled in all caps. Look again here. So the question is, what are they doing to help expedite her getting a lawyer? So I would think the judge would want to have this thing expedited. Yeah, hold on a second. I'm going to open the document. To notice the case management hearing that set it for the 15th. Yeah, I'm just not seeing that where this thing has properly been canceled. So can't tell you how this court system works. It's sort of like local rules, the way they do that. I'm not seeing it off the top of my quick search here on my phone here in this quasi darkness, but I'm just seeing what message came in. Okay. Yeah, the good Florida people deserve justice. Yeah, they're not getting it right now with Jack Campbell. That's all I can say. All right, so with that, I'm going to go, let's see. Okay, there's somebody asked a strange question of events. Could Wendy actually wind up representing her mom? I would say that the judge would stop that as well because Wendy would have a conflict, but she was also a unindicted co-conspirator, and they need to hurry up and get her arrested as well. So no, she cannot represent her mom, but she's not even talking to her mom from all appearances. So Red Couch Diary is saying, do I think they should give Donna a deal 10 years if she gives Wendy? I don't care about Harvey because he has one foot in the grave already, not worth the hassle. Well, I disagree. I don't care how old somebody is. If they're part of a murder, I would go after them. So as far as Donna goes, I would, do you think they should? I'm not going to comment on what they should do because I don't think they need to have Donna's flipping on anybody to go after the other Adelsons. I think there's enough evidence already there. So no, I would not do that. But if that's what they want to do, and she's going to probably die in prison anyway, then that's up to them. She'd probably be paroled in maybe 3-4 years. But to me, that seems way too light. Harvey should ask when if she has any leftover defense lawyers she could recommend. Yeah, that's another Florida case, a bizarre Florida case, right? Wow, there's so many bizarre murder cases in Florida. Yeah, that's true. They arrest Nazis and they are like 100 years old. That's true. They've been doing that over the years. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and sign off for tonight, folks. Thanks for supporting Justice Markell's. And like I say, it's a shock to see the court finally clearing out the courtroom of conflicted counsel, which has finally been something that's been eating on me for a long time. And I think it's something that I look forward to us having conflict-free counsel and hopefully competent counsel as well, besides just being conflict-free. Because actually what it does, if you don't have good lawyers who you're going against, it really just bogs you down, and you wind up spinning your wheels and not getting to the heart of the matter, getting stuff resolved. If you got people that don't know what they're doing, it winds up longer to get to justice. It's more difficult. So, in the best money can buy, and going to make a difference. There's still going to be convictions of these other Wilsons of Florida. So they just need to have the courage and commitment to do the right thing. So that's what we all need to keep their feet to the fire on. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Thanks for, again, your support of the Markells. And I'll be back here again on the 15th, if not sooner, talking about this if there's any other news that comes forth. So that's about it. And y'all stay safe. Have a good night.